A big shout out to Direct Mobiles. Over 24 years of award-winning customer service, definitely worth a look if you're after a new phone. Check in the video description for a link to their deals or search directmobiles.co.uk.
Alright guys, David with Btekt. So with this unique 21:9 aspect ratio that you find on the Xperia 10 and 10 Plus, I wanted to see how good these phones were at actually shooting a real movie. Well, or at least trying to. Turns out that they're not as good as I hoped they would be, and it does kind of confuse me a little bit. Simple changes to this device could have made it ideal for making movies. It does kind of baffle me where Sony are going with this one. I mean, they've given it the 21:9 aspect ratio. It's able to shoot 4K video, but that's where it stopped. They could have made it appeal to so much more of the market, to budding filmmakers, people like even me, who would be interested in this phone for its unique aspect ratio. But there are two things wrong with it. First, they haven't included 24 frames per second. And secondly, you can't turn off the autofocus, which does tend to do a lot of hunting in almost every single scene that I've shot with this phone. It's a bit of a shame. I mean, it doesn't really make sense to me. If you're gonna make this phone and allow it to shoot video like this, then you could have appealed to so much more of the market, people who are really interested in making films with smartphones. Overall, I have enjoyed my time with the Xperia 10 and 10 Plus. It's an interesting device. Processor, the chipset is a little bit slow. It is a bit of a letdown for me in that regard. But if you're just the kind of person that just wants a nice phone to watch content on, then the Xperia 10 and 10 Plus are very well priced and have a modern and fresh look to them. So I do like them for that. For shooting movies, I really think that Sony missed out. They could have captured that small portion of the market that is interested in using smartphones to make movies. You know, people on a proper budget who haven't got £1,200, £1,500 to buy an iPhone.
So let's take a look inside this camera app. I think it's really designed to be used held in landscape mode. One-handed, you've got no chance of stretching all the way up to the top to reach the controls, and there seems to be more point to that kind of setup when you have a dedicated shutter release button, but this phone doesn't have that. We've got 6 buttons across the top. From left to right, we've got the flash toggle, which gives you the option of the autofill flash, red eye reduction, off, or torch, which I assume just means on. Next to that, we've got the timer. We've got the options of 10 or 3-second delay. Beside that is a button to select which aspect ratio you want to use, giving you the selection between 4:3, 16:9, 1:1 and 21:9. If you're going to shoot in 21:9, then it's definitely recommended using it in landscape mode. The portrait shots are just way too skinny and it just looks weird. Next to that, we've got the brightness and color balance, and then the dedicated button to switch between the front and rear cameras, which I would have much preferred to have been down on the lower controls, just so it can be reached one-handed. The mode button, which is down at the bottom, could have gone up the top if you ask me. And finally, across the top, you get the settings cog. Click here to select the size of your photos. We also get the object tracking feature, which is set off by default. Auto capture will take a picture when it detects somebody smiling in the frame. And then we have the common settings, things like save location, which will save your GPS coordinates in the photo's metadata. Touch capture just allows you to take a photo by touching anywhere on the screen. Grid lines gives you guidelines through your viewfinder. Auto photo preview can be toggled on or off here. Other options here to use the volume keys as the shutter button, or to turn the camera sounds on or off. If we look down at the bottom of the camera app, I think some of these controls really should be at the top, such as the filters, which is good for photos, but for video, the processor seems to struggle to apply the filter when shooting in 4K. Under the mode switch, you can select your portrait selfies, bokeh mode, which is basically your portrait mode for the rear camera, slow motion that shoots 720p video at 120 frames per second. AR effects is where you'll find the augmented reality games. Nothing's really changed from previous Sony devices. Manual mode gives you a fairly limited control of the camera functions. Maximum ISO is 3200, while the max shutter speed is 1/4000th of a second, and the maximum long exposure is just 1 second. And of course, as I hinted to earlier, you can't use the manual controls for video. Creative Effects is just more filters that can be used for video as well as for photo. And again, it seems to struggle when processing these types of videos. And finally, there's Panorama, which is just a regular panoramic mode. Very simple to use, but nothing new here. Okay, that's it from me. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. It's at Btekt. Or add me on Snapchat at david.btekt. And just in case you were wondering, I will be doing a full review of the Tesla Model X very soon. So make sure you're subbed to Btekt so you don't miss out.
Thanks for watching. My name's David, and this is Btekt.